And welcome back to another update of real-time object identification surveillance. This is the third update for our senior design project. I am Kale, with me is Miles and Krishna, and we're going to present how this semester has actually gone. So this is our Gantt chart from our previous update. Things were moving along swimmingly, kind of as we had predicted. We were falling a little bit behind, but we had set aside time to really catch up on that. In the last month or so, though, we have had a COVID-19 outbreak, which has drastically changed a lot of things about our project. I'm going to show you in our next timeline some of the adjustments that have been made to cope with this. So on April 7th, we had a meeting with our contact at West, Trent McDonald, and we were able to determine that we would no longer have access to the drone that we were originally going to be working with. After trying to decide how we could work around this, we've come to the conclusion that our best effort to continue in a similar project manner is going to be work entirely in a digital environment and then pass the buck on to Wes to get integration into hardware as they see fit with our project. So on the 8th, after analyzing the new project needs that we had in mind, we determined that we'd be using Python opposed to C for a lot of our scripting purposes. On the 10th, we received our existing standalone project, the object recognition model that West has been using. The following day, we were able to get our online environment set up with their project, and we were able to start building and scripting in our Python project around it. On the 13th, we met and we discussed the individual research that we had done for utility repos that we'd be utilizing with this project. We came together, determined which were going to be our best bet and the easiest to use to incorporate into our project. On the 17th, we were able to actually get our environment fully built and put together with the object recognition that West provided for us. We also wrote our first script to break apart videos into individual images. These images are then being output into a directory that will be fed into the object recognition model so that each image can be processed. On the 18th, we ran our script on a test video and we tested quality of the images that were coming out, making sure that they were clear enough we'd be able to run the object recognition model on top of it. And then on April 21, we started preparing our presentation for update number 3, and we kind of put a conclusive plan together for what we saw being able to complete by the end of semester, as well as what we were looking at for stretch goals at this point.
So since our last update, we have discussed with Trent McDonald, our contact at West, about rescoping our project. As Kale mentioned, we're still working in the same direction, but now we're working off of a stationary camera setup on a windmill that surveils for birds. Wes wants us to identify objects as they come into the frame and start recording so that we store footage of only when the birds are in frame, rather than storing the complete footage of every minute of the day to save storage space. While working towards this new rescoped project, as our first step, we have created a script that takes in as an input an MP4 file and makes a directory of JPEGs of every frame in that video. Before we discuss what we will finish by our last update, I wanted to say that we are now working off West's existing software. Their software presently takes as an input a directory of images and gives as an output a directory of JPEGs where the object of interest was in frame with the object circled. So by our next update, we plan to integrate our script with their software seamlessly so that our script will now take a video as an input, split it into images, which will then be passed on to West's software to provide us with times where the bird was in frame. As a stretch goal, we would want to work off a live stream so as the bird comes into the frame, we identify it and we start recording. and end it when the bird has passed. This will then create a directory of videos of all the times on a day when the bird has flown past the windmill.
And so, looking at today moving forward, our future timeline of what we've put together and what we think we can complete with our project. After earlier in today, actually, we met with one of our other contacts at West, Elliot, to discuss a bit of the software for the object recognition model and best approaches that we could take to connecting in with it and integrating our Python project into their project and getting them to run seamlessly. This upcoming week, we're looking at getting the projects fully integrated together. We'll be doing fully debugging and resolving any sort of issues that we may have with integration. And then we're looking to be done with the heavy testing for the full functionality of our minimum viable product on April 27th, which is going to be Wednesday of next week. After this, we're going to be really just focused on implementing the stretch goals, if we can get either of those finished, those being connecting our project to, or our scripts to run fluently with West's UI, or also getting our object recognition model to work with a live video feed. On the 30th, we'll be looking to prepare our final presentation videos. We'll be uploading those on May 1st. And then from the 2nd to the 5th of May, we're going to be prepping and getting ready to produce our live demo that will be running on May 6th.
All right, speaking of live demo, we've got a brief demonstration of what we've got so far. Here's just a quick screenshot of the directory that's created after the script runs on the video as it divides up each frame into its own individual picture. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that real quick. So if I just go ahead and run our script as it is, it will go ahead and take the video that's hard-coded into it right now and start dividing it up into individual frames. So what I also have a script running on top of that to actually show us some of the frames that it's producing as they come out. So as you can see, this video is being divided up. You won't notice much difference because this video actually doesn't have much going on. I'll show you it at the end. But each individual frame gets numbered in the order that it comes out, and you can see I'm showing you every 15th frame that's coming out, and we're doing that as just kind of a test right now, so that when we do it, we don't look at every single frame because that would be very computer and resource intensive. You can start to see an object come into frame here, and it leaves about 30 frames later, and there it's gone. About 30 frames later. So you can see we only have maybe a handful of frames that an object appears in it in a video. And we need to actually find that that object when it comes into the frame. But we don't want to examine every single frame of a video because, like I said, that would be very computer intensive. So if I close these, it looks like our script finished. And I can go ahead and change into our directory that was produced by it. And we can see all of the frames that were produced. So now that 10-second video produced about 300 different images, and if we were trying to process every single one of those, we definitely wouldn't get anywhere near real time like we're aiming for. So one of the solutions that we're looking at is how to maybe take every 30th frame or every 10th frame or every half a second, whatever frame is in that point, and only analyze those photos to just save on time. Here's the video in full that we were analyzing. You'll see nothing happens for quite a while, and then around now you'll see the bird start to fly up, but it's only there for about a second, which turns out to be something like 50 frames. So that's a little difficult to work with, and we're trying to figure out a solution for that at the moment. So some of the just unforeseen circumstances that we've seen were obviously the virus that we're all dealing with right now. Our original plan was to work with the drone, as we were talking about, and incorporate different API calls to analyze the images that the drone was seeing using the same software that we're looking at now. But now that we don't have access to the drone anymore, we're rescoping to only look at basically video feeds, and it can also be live video. We're working towards that. Um, Obviously, the social distancing has prevented us from meeting in person with our clients and actually accessing the drone as a group. So that's why we ended up getting rid of the idea of using the drone and worked with the clients to find a different scope of this project. So one of the things that's also been hard is that we, as most of you would know, can only meet through online chats and video conferences. So that's been interesting. Also meeting with the clients as we've had to work with their schedule through that and everyone else's schedule. But that's actually kind of been a benefit for us because now the clients, it's a lot more convenient to video call with someone than to set up a meeting when you'll have plenty of time to set aside to see somebody. So it's actually helped us communicate with our clients better. And it's also helped us as a group communicate better. Now that we are basically always in front of our computers, we can meet even more frequently than previously. And it's helped us just because we now all have more time on our hands. There's less things going on right now that we're all stuck at home.
So as for the lessons learned, one of the most important lessons we have learned is that we cannot depend on other parties to finish our project. Time frames have been really hard to predict to finish a task due to the lack of proper communication. And we've also learned that in-person meetings tend to be more productive, and we generally take more time to finish a given task online than compared to in person. So as far as our confidence in success for delivering the minimum viable product, it is very high on average, as you can see. And we feel that we're completely on track, and I can go as far as to say maybe we are a bit ahead of track, as we are almost at the verge of seamlessly merging our script with West software.
Looking at some of our stretch goals and our confidence intervals on how we're feeling about those, it's a little bit varied across the board. I think in general, we're a little bit more confident on being able to get our Python project and all of our scripting connected seamlessly with the UI that West has provided for this. And then a little bit more difficult on our stretch list is the live video feed. The more that we've analyzed this and discussed this amongst ourselves, as well as with some of our partners over at West, we see that there's a lot more that's going to come into play with the live video feed than we originally anticipated. Everything from the capabilities to the hardware to determining how often we can sample for a frame for an object, how often we are free to throw away frames without actually missing any viable data. So that one's got pushed a little bit further back on our list at this point. In conclusion, we feel like we're on track to meet our minimum viable product, and like I say, we still have hope to reach some of our stretch goals and hopefully get some of those pushed forward into a functional state. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments on the page, and yeah, thank you for tuning in.